Today we will be talking about list. So as you know, list is useful for displaying items in a vertical manner. So for example, if you are developing a delivery app, you can have a view called My Delivery, and then there's a list listing all the users' deliveries. The list can contain a lot of items. As long as you can use it in the iOS SwiftUI view, you can use it within a list as a list cell. So you can put images, text, videos, buttons, navigation controls, and maps and other elements in there. So let's try to create a list. Now, as I said, a list usually have a data source. In UIKit, it comes from the table view or collection view delegate. But here, we just need a variable. So for example, if my list contains, let's start from a regular variable. If my list contains a user orders, all right, and for now it can just be an array of the user's order ID. All right, so let's give it some initialization values. So for example, the order ID is 1, and then for example 2, and then for example 3. We'll start from something simple. All right, so here within the body, remember this is the part where we put all the SwiftUI view components. We can put a list here. Now, next we will enter, you can see in the suggestions, we have this data role content. Let's select this one. All right, so for data, we will put in the data. So in this case, is the user orders, right? And the role content, if we hit enter, is going to be the order number of the user, right? And within this view here, is your cell content. So what is displayed for each row? So in this case, for example, we can display a text of the user's order number. Now you may notice that this actually failed to build because it says if you click on this X mark here, it says it requires string to confirm to identifiable. So what identifiable means is that the system SwiftUI is able to identify that the role is that unique role. So the identifier means a unique identifier that is different for each object. If the user can duplicate some items within your app doesn't need to load it twice, and the way the app knows that is by using the identifier. But for now, we just need to solve this problem. So there's many ways to solve it, but one of the way is that within the parentheses where we initialize the list object right here, put a comma here and put ID, and then put a colon, and this is the ID for each object, and you put a slash mark, put dot, and put self. This basically means the list will use each element itself as the identifier. All right, since this is the order ID, right? So, but do notice that ID needs to be something different. For example, you cannot use the order delivery address as the ID because it might be the same for different entries. So remember, the ID has to be different. All right. So now, as you can see in the preview, we got the list displaying here. Now, let's use the skills we learn and turn this regular variable into a variable that can be changed during runtime. And what type of variable is that? It is a state variable. State variable's value can be changed during runtime. So let's convert this into a state variable. Now everything looks exactly the same, but what I can do here is that I can also put a button here. Add new random order. And then what I can do is I can just user orders append a new orders, for example, new order. All right, here we cannot see this button in the preview because remember within the body we can only have one of the SwiftUI view components. So technically we need to wrap them in some other stack structure. So here we're just gonna do a form. Don't worry, we'll talk about form later. So as the view renders, you can see there's now an add new random order button, and if we hit it, you can see our list updates. So as we have talked about, state variables allows the view to update automatically when the variable changes.